Every single year, there are always people posting video titled, "Does gear matter?" Of course gear does matter. But how much? So my friend Daniel asked me to shoot a promo video for Asian American Association. So instead of using our regular expensive gear, we decided to set up a challenge by limiting our camera and lights. In the end, we got a relatively affordable gear, an FX30 as camera, and 2 tube lights as lights, and 2 reflector as diffuser and a bounce off flag. And we used all those gear to make this video.
Metro on that beat.
Hummingbird, summer song, has it brought my life back? Hanging in the balance, have you brought the light back?
Pizza time.
Hello there. This is a very shaky chair. But yeah, my name is Daniel, and I am a filmmaker. Particularly, I do directing and action design, visual effects. I'll be working with Baiwen to put it together.
So we did set up this promo as more like a challenge for ourselves because there's not a lot of filmmakers around here. Equipments are not really accessible. So we got our friends to pull up a lot of equipment. I mean, I do have a decent amount of equipment, but I didn't use mine because that would be a little bit like cheating. So we used the FX30 and the 2 tube lights. I contribute 1 tube light, and my friend Gavin, he also contributed another tube light. So they are pretty cheap. They are all under $500.
The clients that I'm working with are also my friends. They are part of a dance performance organization, and the purpose of the promo is to promote their show and also to recruit new members and showcasing this year who their new coordinators are, the people who are going to be teaching the dances and choreographing performances and stuff like that. One aspect of this promo is that the timeline is extremely short, while at the same time using it as an opportunity, like Baiwen said, to try out and to see what you can do through filmmaking with basically no budget, 1 week of time, and very limited equipment. Another thing that I think is really important for basically producing any video that in which you want to have like a higher production quality, or any film or short film, is choosing the right department heads and finding the right leadership for anything. I think that for any given production, it is really good to not just have like a director, someone who's in charge of like the creative vision, but also to have people who are in charge of logistics. So Baiwen is the production head of the camera department as the director of photography, and the camera department essentially is the one that manages camera and lighting and stuff like that. We also had an art department head who oversaw costumes and makeup and hair and set design, which were large components of our production. There were a lot of costumes and makeup looks that were involved in this, and so it was definitely crucial to have a solid and reliable art department to be able to put that together. Because while the DP and the gaffer is responsible for like making the image beautiful via lighting, there is a whole other half of that equation, which is literally what is physically on camera. And that's what the art department is in charge of.
So because most people in my crew, they don't have any filmmaking experience, so that's why I choose tube lights, and they are very easy to hold. If you have friends never done filmmaking before, you can teach them in 10 minutes, and they will be able to understand how to use lights and how to hold them. I also grabbed 2 reflectors. They are very helpful when you starting, filmmaking. They can be flag, they can be bounce, they can be diffuser, and we use that a lot during the shoot.
If you choose to do something in a creative field that involves a lot of collaboration, becoming someone who is really good at the creative side is really only half of the battle. The other half is like being a good person to work with, and most of all, creating a community that other people would want to participate in and find like worthwhile by being a part of. In the case of our sets, a lot of times when I'm directing, I apply a very community like focused approach such that we will always prioritize like people's schedules, make sure people like leave the set on time, make sure people are fed. I think on more professional sets, that is less of a thing that you would need to focus on in order to get it done because everybody's getting paid. But in our situation, because we're working with like mainly friends and like friends of friends and like various people in like our community, creating that environment is very important to get people to want to show up.
So this Bizcaz part is pretty simple. We have a very good apartment and very good set design, and we spent about 40 minutes to do set design. We have a lot of people doing that, which is very nice. And from here, we put a light over here as a practical, so it kind of bounced back on the light on her face, and then realized her face was too dark, so we put another. We don't have a softbox as we planned, so we use the reflector. We take that apart and use a diffuser to put a tube light over here, like over here, and then shine it. And then we realized one thing is this section is too dark. So it's now balanced, everything's on the right. So we put a light to balance it back, which also kind of motivate the light a little bit.
Yeah, so generally for this sequence and this shot in particular, we use a lot of the techniques at our disposal because we really only had like 2 lights. But we also asked like some of our performers and our like art department to bring in like practicals. So like basically like having the practical lights here gives us a lot more opportunities to add light into the scene and also to like motivate lighting, basically adding like complexity to the frame. I would like to shout out some of our art department people throughout this short. Makeup and hair person Liz, who was also the one doing our set design for this. She did a really good job. She actually like on set she drew this spread of the sketchbook, and I think it like that this along with this old Spider-Man comic book that I own and I brought to set, this adds like so much more to like build out the little bit of like the story of like who these people are. That's her Instagram handle right there. You should go follow her because she's a really good artist.
And then we have this shot. So basically entire thing because the lighting is motivated from this direction. The light is from her right side, and we put a light over here. In the end, it works pretty well, and we also put another light behind the counter to illuminate this kind of fitting from the VFX shot, and also put a small light over here just to boost up the look a little bit more.
Yeah. For this shot, I could touch on a little bit of like the VFX that is happening here. But there's this portal asset that I found on YouTube. They did a really good job constructing this portal in Blender, and so given our time and also because this is not like a monetized project, I figured to use that. Lighting wise, we obviously would want to put up that light back there such that she's like backlit by the red light. Yeah, also kind of lighting her using this like key light. Intention of that was not only for like continuity reasons, but also we want to separate her as much from the background as possible because we don't have like a green screen or anything, so we needed to rotoscope her. And fortunately, this is a fairly easy roto work, with an exception of her hair. But with the way that the portal flashes in the background, you can kind of get away with like how her hair kind of like fluctuates in and out a little bit because the portal is also doing like the same thing. So in this sequence, we wanted to depict for our story. We want to depict these. This cast of characters within a dark forest. So our lighting setup didn't really work according to plan. And so because of that, we needed to do a lot of work in post to bring back the look. I'm gonna break that down. So let's start with our ACES transform. So this is basically like what our image looks like by itself. And as you can see, it's like, if you compare that to an image like this, like that we lit here, it's like completely different with the way that there is like that motivated light on her, And like, yeah, despite them still having like the glow sticks out, we did not really do anything to like kind of add in that light. So I'm gonna re-enable some of these effects. But basically, our solution was to do like a lot of parallel nodes, essentially using a combination of both power windows and qualifiers to bring the look back in. And so this, so we started off with like our base node, and this is like our base grade. Essentially, the goal of this is to fill out the background with the right color, and then from that point on, we basically look at our reference and we compare it to like the people, and we try to dial in like qualifier selections to as closely match everything as possible. And so this is our skin tone node, and we're using our actress Alysha's skin tone here as like our main like reference for lighting them. So that's like that on and off. Here is our costumes node, where we bring back the red color of their costumes. Then we have our pants node, and so for this, I just made their pants like darker because this is like right now this is like weirdly bright costumes and very very like saturated, but I brought that down to kind of be a little bit more a photo real look to it. And check this on so you guys can see what the power grade is doing. For example, this is our clothing node, and I have this power window set such that there is a little bit of like fall off and a roll off, as though like the light from the scene is coming from like an overhead position, which is where they're holding the glow sticks. Lastly, I have the glow sticks node. And so this this selection, if I just look at the selection by itself, is just like the glow sticks. And I basically bring these up and shift them a little bit orange, such that it's a little bit more convincing that they're the ones that are casting this glow. So yeah, and then plus like a glow effect in the end, like kind of ties it all together. Next up, I'm gonna talk about VFX. So generally, when we're working with like a client or on a project that has a very short timeline, but we want to do VFX shots on it, it's really important that we make the right decisions on set everything up such that in post we are set up for success. So fortunately, I have a background in VFX. That was pretty nice to have. I wanted to do a couple of VFX shots in this promo, one of which is this little like Doctor Strange magic moment. Basically, by the time I was on set, I have an idea of like what I want to do and how I'm going to do it. And so it's generally like not a good habit to show up to set and know that you're going to do a VFX shot, but not know like what it's going to like take to do it. So one example is in like motion tracking, which is like something that we do a lot of in this promo. So like taking this shot, for example. And so this shot is motion tracked, but in the actual shot, we were not this like close up and zoomed in, because if we were, then we would not be able to have those tracking points in that like high contrast wall. So this is actually like removing this adjustment clip, which is like the keyframed zooming out effect. This is actually how wide we shot it, such that we have all of this data to work with when we're tracking. And again, on like actual sets, when you have like a VFX supervisor on board, you can have someone who can place down tracking markers and basically like oversee that process and stuff. Whereas for us, because we didn't have a VFX supervisor, I kind of had to play that role and just be mindful while we're shooting, that make sure that the way that we shoot things ultimately will benefit me in post. And so we get this really, really smooth track of the background such that I can stick this text there. Additionally, we have this shot, and it does look very like technically complex, but with this, I used the magical symbols VFX assets from Action VFX. I knew because we have a week to shoot and edit, I could not do some like simulation or like 3D thing. And so because of that, I want to play to the strengths of like using like an asset that I already have. Basically using a lot of assets and building up those assets. Each of these are essentially like a singular like ring. In After Effects, I put these on like a 3D plane, and I like basically just kind of like shifted these around so that, and animated them such that they kind of like resemble a like formation, and I added a bunch of like spark effects and stuff in there as well. This shot was entirely achievable with just that VFX pack. Having stuff like that and methods that are reliable and you know you're able to deliver within a short amount of time is very important. Okay, so for sound design, this is like a view of kind of what our sound design timeline looks like. And basically the main things that are happening here is a lot of like use of like stock sound effects. I am a user of Epidemic Sound, and they have a lot of really good sound effects in there. Otherwise, there's just over time I've accumulated a lot of sound effects which are super helpful to like have and use. I think that like I took a lot of notes from like seeing like videos on Instagram, ways that like they're able to like capture audience's attention. I noticed there's a lot of use of like whooshes and like air noises to transition you in and out of certain sequences, such as like this moment right here. For fight sequences like this, one like I guess sort of fallacy that that a lot of people do when like sound designing fight sequences is just kind of like punch sound effect and like that's it. But that's really not enough to get that real feeling. And so for every single movement here, this isn't really a great example because there aren't really like punches that happen. But even then, every single movement in here is kind of first preceded and then punctuated by at least 2 sounds. And so a really great way to like sell like movement is by having a clothing rustle or like a whoosh sound effect, like something like that, and then pronounce with like in this case like the prime whoosh sound, or in other cases like a punch sound. So any singular punch will at least be like as like a build up, and then as like the payoff. And so this sequence right here, we just see that in like full force, and a lot of mostly just like clothing rustle sound effects, all like layered. And that's how you really like avoid your sound effects being very stocky, because if I just like pull up like any one of these like sound effects on its own, like if I find this in like the media pool, this is what it sounds like. That's like it by itself. But if you put these all together and you like layer them, then you're able to avoid that. Because I think that even in films and stuff, it's really easy to hear like the same sound effects over and over, but the key is like really layering them and getting them to a point where it feels very cohesive and they're all like playing together. Yeah, thank you for watching. We hope that you learned something from this. If you didn't learn something, that's okay too. I'm glad that you stuck to the end. But yeah, I encourage you guys to go out and make some films. It doesn't matter where you are. We are in like the middle of nowhere in Midwest, but we're still able to like make something that is like of like decent quality. Be delusional enough to like want to create and to reach out to people to create, and yeah, be good to yourself and the people working with you, and yeah, have fun creating.
Yeah, we'll also upload more videos like this, more cinematography related stuff, because this one is not really cinematography related that much. So we're gonna do a lot of more shots breakdown of past work we did. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. All right, peace.